But whatever that family does cannot come back on you. Because your family is here. And we are waiting for you. So please, be smart. Be strategic.
Now, how does Tariq beat Detective Carter? We also saw the death stare that Tariq gave to Carter that we saw so many times from Ghost. We also heard what Tariq said in the trailer for episode 8. They need to get rid of Detective Carter. So, how does Tariq approach the situation against arguably one of the most formidable forces that he's come up against in his time in Power Book 2 Ghost? How would Ghost tackle this particular situation? That's the agenda for today's breakdown. We're going to look at Tariq's chessboard post 407. We're going to look at some of his mistakes, how Ghost's name needs a bit more respect, and also how he plays the game from the position he finds himself in, because you can guarantee he will be plotting the downfall of Detective Don Carter in all things Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4. Now we do have to start with Tariq's conversation with Tasha and highlight some of Tariq's mistakes. There's a reason why he went to go see Tasha in 407, is because he needed help. Him and Diana had just lost their baby, and his mind was frankly all over the place. You could tell with how upset he actually was. He needed help and guidance, and he needed the words of wisdom from his mother in terms of what he was going through, and also what move he should make next. Throughout the previous seasons, Tasha has always been his go-to. We saw him pick up the phone countless of times in Season 1 to kind of seek guidance when he found himself in sticky situations, whether it was seeking advice in terms of what to do with Effie who he couldn't trust, or when he found himself with his back against the wall.
Look, I need some help from this girl, right? But she stabbed me in the back before. How do I work with someone that I can't trust?
Well, after I found out your father was cheating on me, on all of us, I couldn't trust him either. I did the next best thing. I got him to trust me.
And this is why he was here in 407. He said that he could fix any problem he found himself in, and how he wasn't Ghost. But how in denial is Tariq? Because if he could genuinely fix every problem he was in, he wouldn't be here looking for guidance. And I have said it before, I do think Ghost's name does deserve a bit more respect, and we are going to come to the way Ghost used to approach certain situations in just a moment, to kind of back up why Tariq is still a very long way away from being as smart and as strategic as Ghost. Now, Tasha told him something very similar to what Monet told Diana. This baby was hope. He or she could have been a blessing to kind of break the cycle that the St Patricks and the Tejadas are stuck in. But considering the baby was now gone, he wanted to make a move. However, Tasha told him that he needed to be smart, he needed to be strategic. She told him that his family was here, his mom, Yasmin, and Grandma Estelle, and how he needed to focus on getting back to them so they could be a family again. As sad as it is with Diana losing her baby, the Tejadas aren't Tariq's family, and whatever they did next, whatever kind of retaliation they were going to make on Detective Felicia Lewis, Tasha said that he needed to make sure it didn't come back on him. However, what did Tariq go and do? The minute Diana called, he was there, and he ended up implicating himself in a murder that he genuinely didn't need to implicate himself in. I get that Tariq said he would be there for her, but he was here for guidance and Tasha gave him specific instructions. On top of that, Felicia Lewis's kid was upstairs who saw them, and then you have Diana reading bedtime stories while there's an entire crime scene downstairs. That's not Tariq being smart or strategic. Tasha specifically told him that his family was here, and not to get involved in the Tejada retaliation, be better than his parents were. So, this decision in itself, especially having this conversation with Tasha, was definitely baffling. But, considering he was now here, what would have been smart and strategic would have been to act quick, work on getting rid of the body like Tommy and Ghost did with Ray Ray, or just like Kane, Tariq and Braden did with Bash's body in 301. Clean up the crime scene and don't leave any speck of evidence that you were ever here. I guess there was the added complication of Felicia Lewis's kid being upstairs, and also the kid actually seeing them, but this crime scene definitely needed to be dealt with quickness. I mean, if Felicia Lewis had a kid upstairs, who knows whether she had a partner or a husband who could have walked in at any given moment. What would they have done then? Kill him as well? We also have to mention that Diana has caused a lot of problems for Tariq during Power Book 2 Ghost. Over the season, she's been snooping around Tariq's things, stealing his gun. She lied to him to get a meeting with Davis McLean, manipulated him to steal his drugs from Stansfield's rooftop, to even setting him up for Monet's shooting, which could have resulted in his and also Tasha's death. So, I do actually think Effie's reaction in 406 was kind of justified. She was questioning, how the hell does Diana get a pass for what she's done? Of course, Tariq having a baby with Diana did make things a little more complex, and he wanted to be there for her and her baby. But I still don't think he should be overlooking everything that she's done behind his back. Just like I've said before, all the Tahadas have ever done is screw Tariq St Patrick over, and he can't trust them. Now what this has also resulted in, because Tariq went to the murder scene even though Tasha warned him to stay away, he now finds himself implicated, and he also finds himself under Detective Carter's thumb.
Welcome to the fucking team, Tariq.
Now no doubt, Detective Carter is the most formidable force Tariq has ever come across. It's going to be very difficult to bring down someone like Carter, but with Tariq giving Carter the ghost stare, you know time is ticking for Carter, one way or the other. Whether he gets the cuff slapped on his wrist or whether he gets killed, you can guarantee they will be bringing him down one way or the other. I mean, whenever someone tried to punk Ghost, tried to get the better of him or control him, whether it be in the streets or the real world of business, we used to see Ghost just stay quiet, but kind of give them this death stare, and as soon as Ghost did, we as the audience knew it meant yeah, at some point, I'm gonna get you. The moment he gave this stare, whoever was on the other end, time was ticking. Ghost used to play the very long game with some of his enemies. Sometimes he just used to take small hits and licks and just absorb them, but he never lost sight of the bigger picture. He always managed to find a way. He picked up on even the smallest of mistakes by his enemies, did his investigation, have his connections carry out some of the background work, and he used to attack when it was just the perfect time. We saw it against Simon Stern with Ravenna Holdings, when the two guys across Club Truth tried to take his business, to also moves in the streets. We saw Ghost in so many jams in the streets in Power, from Felipe Lobos, Milan to Jason Michich. But one thing which you'll find in common in regards to most of the moves that Ghost made against his enemies, he'd always find a weakness to exploit, or he'd wait for them to make a mistake, and then he'd pounce. That's being smart and that's being strategic. Now having said that, this is what Tariq needs to do in this situation. In 405, he said that he needed to use all the good parts of Ghost and also all the bad parts.
You know, my dad did a lot of dumb shit that I never agree with, but I got a lot of him in me. You know, I realized to get what the fuck I want, I gotta use all of them. The good parts of him, the bad parts of him.
Now this is what I meant about Tariq still being a little in denial, confused and not knowing who his father really was or capable of, because he didn't see the Ghost we did. On one hand, you have him saying he's nothing like Ghost, but in 405, you have him finally admitting that he does have a lot of traits of his father. So if he does, this is where he needs to prove it. He needs to bide his time, be patient, either find a weakness that he can exploit where it comes to Detective Carter, or wait until he makes a mistake. For example, killing Kamal Tate. I do think that was a huge mistake from Detective Carter. Why? Because it goes against his own rules in terms of not killing civilians.
So I got some simple rules. Listen carefully. Civilians should never be hurt in the process.
Carter went against the very rule he set in 405, and I really do think that will ultimately be his downfall. We've already got Detective Halston kinda questioning why would the Russians retaliate on just Kamal Tate. It genuinely doesn't make any sense. He also looked at Carter after they raided the Russian safe house as if he really didn't believe his boss. That was after Carter literally pulled the exact same move Tariq pulled in terms of taking the shot and planting the gun in the Russian's hand, just like Tariq did with Junior in 401. But could Detective Halston potentially flip and maybe go against his boss? Can Tariq somehow find out Carter was the one who killed Kamal Tate? Because if he can go straight to Rashad Tate and give him this bit of information. We also heard what Rashad Tate said. He wished he was the one who killed his brother's killer. And I do feel like this bit of information does have to be revealed come the end of season 4. And if it does, that has to bring Rashad Tate back into the picture. Just like Ghost had the help of Tommy, Tasha, Joe Proctor, and a few others during his time on Power. I mean, he was the mastermind behind a lot of plans, but he still needed the help of those around him to bring some of his enemies down. And I do feel like Tariq will also need help too. So Rashad Tate could actually be one angle he could actually work, if he can find out the truth in regards to Kamal Tate's death. But that's also why he's here having a meeting with Noma and Kane. They all find themselves with something in common, bringing down Detective Carter. They need to somehow work together for their own benefit. However, here comes the added complication going into the last 3.
I cleared the server, that's the only copy.
We're all at risk now. I'll hold on to this. You go home. Don't talk to anyone. Don't tell anyone. Not Nico, not anyone. You understand?
We all know having leverage in the world of Power can be highly beneficial in terms of keeping control and winning the eventual war. It's why Tariq kept leverage over Noma, and why Detective Carter wants leverage over the Connect. He wants to go to Noma when he's in a position of power. But with Detective Carter having Tariq on CCTV killing Zion, this does make things a bit more complex for Tariq, because at this moment in time, he has no idea that this even exists. Felicia Lewis said that she cleared the NYPD hard drive, and so this is the only copy remaining, which remains in Carter's possession. So at some point, when and if Tariq does find himself in a position where he can actually strike Detective Carter, Carter does actually have an ace up his sleeve. So this CCTV will be an added complication. Tariq first of all needs to find out that it does exist, and then he needs to make sure that he gets his hand on it to destroy it. After that, he needs to figure out a way to bring down Detective Carter, whether that's with Halston potentially flipping, Rashate coming back into the picture, or with the help of Nomar and Kane. He needs to do exactly what Tasha said. He needs to be smart and he needs to be strategic, and I do think he will. Despite the mistakes that we highlighted earlier in the breakdown, I do think that Tariq will eventually find a way. In terms of our predictions and theories, we can always make logical kind of sense in terms of how it could potentially happen and how we could approach the situation. But we all know power, there's always going to be a few twists and turns that we don't expect, so let's wait and see. Now we also can't forget about the fact he also needs to bring down Nomar. We touched on the fact that he still holds this leverage, and he also has information in regards to her having a brother in Nigeria. So, even though Tariq could potentially be working together with Nomar to bring down Detective Carter, he does also need to keep the entire chessboard in mind. Just like I mentioned in regards to Ghost, he was always looking at the bigger picture. In most cases, he left no stone unturned. So, what will be his first move? And with that being said, the floor is now yours. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, especially where it comes to this murder scene, because ironically, recently I have been watching How to Get Away with Murder. Great show by the way. I really like the way Professor Keating kinda portrays her character, but this literally was the quite opposite of how not to get away with a murder. So drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you next time.